This is your Friday Daily Delivery. I am Michael Rand. Hope everyone's having a good day today. Getting excited for the weekend. It's a wonderful time of year, you guys. Even if today is April Fool's Day, hope you don't become the victim of any pranks today. So much sports going on gives me plenty to talk about. Today is no exception. A lot of good stuff coming up on this show. Nick Deslauriers from The Wild will be on in just a few minutes. Their new fourth line enforcer, grit guy, however you want to define him, showed up on our Zoom call with stitches on his nose because he broke his nose a couple weeks ago, a black eye. He looks the part, but a fantastic guy to talk to. Really interesting answers, really good kind of perspective on his own career. So I hope you enjoy that conversation here in just a little bit. Got to get to some women's Final Four stuff. We'll play a clip from Paige Bueckers, who talked to the media over Zoom on Thursday in advance of Friday's Final Four beginning. Those semifinal games tonight at Target Center. Big games. UConn versus Stanford and South Carolina against Louisville. Should be fantastic. I will be there. We'll have a bonus podcast, by the way, over the weekend from the women's Final Four as well. Got to get to some Gophers women's basketball news, which was not great. Sarah Scalia entering the transfer portal. That happened yesterday, not long after I recorded, so I want to get to that here today. And a baseball rule that I don't like is coming back for 2022. But first, what did I miss? Gonna stay with baseball for a minute. Joe Ryan, Twins rookie, made 5 starts last season and has now been anointed the opening day starter for the Twins next week when they open the season in 6 days. On the surface, I guess I don't have a ton of problems with it. He certainly showed a lot of promise. I liked him when I just dug into some of his minor league peripheral numbers after the Twins traded for him in the Nelson Cruz deal last year. But this move to name him opening day starter feels a little bit desperate, doesn't it? Doesn't it kind of show you the lack of what they have on this roster in terms of pitching right now? When you look at the rest of the presumed rotation and you look at Sonny Gray, who's accomplished, who should be pretty good, but maybe doesn't need that distinction necessarily and is still kind of working his arm up into the best shape possible. Chris Archer, who just signed and is coming off of an injury. He's made opening day starts before. Dylan Bundy, same with him. Veterans, and that was kind of the surprise piece. They have a lot of veterans who could have gotten that call. Bailey Ober even could have gotten that call too, a slightly more accomplished young pitcher who threw more innings than Joe Ryan did a year ago. But Joe Ryan gets the call. And listen, I don't want to be a wet blanket on the Joe Ryan experience because he was really good in a lot of those starts he made a season ago, but it was 5 starts in September. All of them in September, like I said, none of them against teams with winning records. It was 2 against the Cubs, 2 against Cleveland, and 1 against Detroit. So September baseball against teams out of the pennant race with losing records. And again, he was good in those games. The strikeouts were good, the walks were good. Only 5 walks, 30 strikeouts in 26 2/3 innings. He got hit pretty hard in his last start, but all the other ones were very good. He had he'd only given up in his first 22 innings. He'd only given up 5 earned runs. So I'm not saying he wasn't productive last season because he certainly was. What I am saying is, did we see even close to enough from Joe Ryan last year to say that's your opening day starter? And I guess for the Twins, they did, but it feels mostly like it was by default. Not that Joe Ryan isn't a good pitcher, but did he earn this opportunity yet after 5 September starts against similarly bad teams? I don't know. This tells me less about Joe Ryan and more about the state of the Twins pitching. I hope for his sake, I hope for the Twins' sake, I hope for the fans' sake that he has a good year, that this opening day start proves to be a good idea. I'm just reminded a little bit, unfortunately, of Vance Worley. I was thinking about Twins opening day starters. He was the opening day starter in 2013 after being acquired from Philadelphia in the offseason when the Twins were desperate for pitching. And there's the headlines in late March, Vance Worley named Twins opening day starter. And then the headlines from late May, opening day starter Vance Worley optioned to Class AAA. So I hope that is not the Joe Ryan experience. I hope that he shows the confidence, shows the ability that he has. I just worry that this is a move by default and it really shows the depth of the Twins pitching or the lack thereof.
Take a playcation to Mystic Lake for 24/7 gaming, fun restaurants and bars, and luxurious hotel rooms. And join Club M to bask in the rewards. Follow the lights to Mystic Lake, where every day is play day.
Really happy to be joined on Daily Delivery today by one of the newest members of the Wild. That could be anybody because they made a lot of moves at the deadline, but in this case, it is Nick Deslauriers, forward. You can't see him right now on my Zoom screen, but he's got a nice shiner on his eye. He's got some stitches on his nose because that got broken a couple of weeks ago. Kind of explains a little bit of what your role is, does it not, Nick?
Yeah, no, obviously, like you said, broke it a couple of weeks ago. So every time I touch it a bit. So on that last fight, just got Nick there with the visor, and nose a little sensitive these days.
How, I'm always kind of interested when, people make it to the NHL. Everybody growing up had, everybody who's in the NHL right now growing up was obviously one of the best players on their team, was, scoring a lot of goals, things like that. How did your role evolve to, still contributing offensively, but to the role you have today in the NHL?
Yeah, no, my path is really different than a lot of people. I was a D-man, offensive D-man, all my career until probably my third year pro. I got drafted in the NHL as a D-man, and my transition was quite odd. Obviously, I came back from a camp in LA that I got drafted, and it was, I think, my third camp, and we went to Manchester, New Hampshire, and there were so many guys on the back end, so kind of put myself up front just to kind of help out, and I started scoring goals, and obviously you kind of like it at that point. But when the season started, I kind of started as a fourth line guy, not playing much, and that's at that point when you kind of get secure a top four spot as a D-man to being a fourth line guy, not playing much. You kind of question a bit what's going to happen, and then I went back a little bit, back and forth as a D-man and a forward. And then I got my chance on the first line, and always remember playing with Brendan Cozen and Jordan Will. So two little water bugs just buzzing there. And, trade deadline, I had 18 goals, and I was playing 2 minutes on the power play and as a D-man and playing as a first line as a forward. And then I got traded to Buffalo, and that's when I really inked in as being a forward. And I was still not a fighter at that time. I kind of maybe had 1 or 2 fights a year, but with the size and being a fourth line in the NHL, I knew my role, that I had to finish every single hit. And I fought a decent fighter my first NHL fight against Brendan Pruss, and I kind of liked it. I didn't do well, I didn't do bad, but that's when I think the itch got started, and to stay in the NHL as for me was to be that guy, and I got better and better, and that's where I'm at now.
Do you like that role, or is it a role that you play to kind of to stay in the league?
No, to be honest with you, I love it. It's there's something about scoring a goal. I love scoring goals. I wish I could score 50 goals. You need different roles, and for me, that was the thing that brought bread on the table. And I kind of adjusted my game to when to go, not when to go. I'm old enough to know what the energy brings. Sometimes it's just a hit, sometimes it's just a block shot. Sometimes it's fighting. And I had some injuries for sure, but nothing stepped me back. I love it, and the thing that makes it so sweet is how the teammates respect you and how they know that there's not a lot of people like that. And, it's fun. I like it. Sometimes I don't look too great after, but, it's fun. I like it. I like scoring goals, but, if I had to choose, for me, I put myself in this situation this year of trying to get traded to be in a playoff spot. Have no experience in the playoffs. I want to prove that my role can be effective, and I put myself in that spot. I feel like I've been having a good season. Yes, I've been fighting decently. I've been obviously not scoring a lot, but I've been producing a bit. I was helping a lot on the PK in Anaheim, and I wanted to bring that package. My last 2 years were really about me trying to prove that I can play hockey, and it's not just fighting. And but when it comes down to this, I do love it.
You had a goal in your debut with the Wild. You looked pretty fired up about that. Everybody is when they score, but it just seemed like there was some extra emotion there, just getting traded to a team that's in the midst of a playoff push. Like you said, you've never played in an NHL playoff game. Like, I got a lot of questions about just the process of getting traded. But when you find out you're coming here and you get a goal in that first game, like what are the emotions of that moment? Just kind of being on a team that feels like it's got a different direction than the one you were coming from.
Yeah, that was a plus for sure. It's I know I'm there to bring the grit, finish my hits. Bring that energy, bring that kind of safety valve, and kind of take some load off of other people that's been doing it. And but when you score a goal, I think my second shift, there's a little bit of weight lifted off for sure. But like I said, I could care less about scoring goals. It's not my job. I want other guys to succeed and do what they do best. And I feel for me doing what I do best is bringing that grit, being safe defensively, and obviously cashing in sometimes is always good.
When you traded mid-year, what does that feel like? You got to get acclimated to a new city. Like, how jarring is that just personally?
Yeah, this year was kind of different. I've got traded mid-year when I was in the American League, and it gave me a chance to play in the NHL. And then I spent a few years in Buffalo and got traded after the camp to go to Montreal, and then got traded in the summer. But this one was really different. It was, as a family guy, it's always hard. But we knew, like I said, I wanted to put myself in this spot. It was trying to sign an extension or play in the playoffs. And for me, it was playing in the playoffs. And I put myself in that spot. And for the month and a half before trade deadline, we knew it was going to happen. It was clear and direct with my agent and the GM in Anaheim. At that point, it was just a matter of where and when. And it made it easier for sure, I think, on the family side. But when I got here, it was just excited. When I got the phone call from Anaheim just saying that I got traded, and he told me, you're going to Minnesota. And not even 2 seconds after, Bill called me, and just seeing how excited he was and how welcoming just a phone call was. And obviously, you looked right away. As soon as I hung up, I looked right away at the roster, and I knew 4 or 5 guys, even maybe more. So it makes the transition easy. And I made sure that I came in as soon as possible. I think I got the call maybe at, I would say, noon or 1 o'clock, and I was on a flight at 7:15 for practice the next day. I wanted to be here. I want to be a part of this. This is special. It's hard to explain how easy this transition was. My first practice, just walking at the practice rink, was just overwhelming of how everybody is so close, and just not the team, the staff, the coaching staff, everything, organization. And, it made me feel like I was there already the whole year, and it made that transition easy. So I think that's why, first game I came in, you get the jitters, you're excited, but, I wasn't nervous at all. I felt in right away. And the funny part of that is the next day was a trade deadline. And when we picked up Flower in Middleton, I was texting Flower a bit, and, Middleton, I saw him walking in the hotel, and I was like, hey, you want to grab dinner? We're staying at the same place at the hotel, and kind of explained to him. I was like, hey, I don't know him well at that point, but we fought in preseason, and just a great guy. And I told him, I was like, you'll see, it's something special. It's hard to describe how easy the transition is. And after practice, we drove back to the hotel, and he was like, I feel like I've been here. you don't get those feelings often. I've been in a few teams, and this is by far the easiest transition I ever had.
Last thing for you, I love hearing about that. You know, the opposite side of, fighting is you find yourself in the penalty box a fair amount of time. What do you think about Nick Deslauriers while you are in the penalty box?
Depends for what. When it's for fighting, it's more of like just last game. I fought and I had to get some stitches, and you're glued to the table getting stitches, but there's one eye always looking at the game because you want to see if you did something good or if you changed the momentum a bit. And just before I came back, we scored 2 goals. So, it's something, like I said, for me, do I love it? Absolutely. And when those things happen, it just gives me that extra boost of, like sometimes those things change the game. Sometimes they don't. I'll be completely honest with you guys. But when you come back out and it's 1-0 or 2-0, you feel like maybe you've helped a little bit this kind of boost of energy. And but when you're in the box, that's what happens. A lot of people are asking me why are you so friendly in the box? It's, to be honest with you, when I fight somebody like I fought McDermott twice this year, and we had some good chats in the box. He's in the same role as me. It's not a fun job, and it's more being respectful to each other. And when it comes to in between the boards, there's no friends, but after the game you can shake hands, and that's how old time hockey was. You heard some stories of old time hockey. The guys would fight 2 or 3 times a game, and they would grab a beer. So I think that's why being respectful to each other, and when it's time for business, it's time for business.
Speaking of that, I guess one more final thing for you. Like you said before, no playoff experience. What do you imagine that next jump will be like? Because this is going to be a playoff team, barring something really weird. I mean, this is a team that's on that path and has aspirations to not just make it, but go far. Have you thought about, what playing in the playoffs will feel like?
Obviously, I would lie if I would say I'm not trying to think about it, but I'm more of a guy day to day. We got a game today. That's what I think about. We got 17, 18 games left. Those are the games that you think about, but I'm excited. I've said it multiple times, playing here as an away team was not fun. This building is rocking, and being on this side now, it's insane, and can't wait. For me, it's obviously everybody dreams of winning the Stanley Cup. I was at one point, I want to play one game in the playoffs and prove that I could be effective. And no, I'm excited. I try not to think ahead of it. I want to keep that as a little surprise for myself. But no, I'm excited. It's going to be something special, and just even now, you're trying to set your game up for the playoffs. This last month and a half, you're trying to set everything team wise. And I think for me especially, I think playoffs already started. I'm trying to get into it right away, and we play a lot of hockey lately, and this is how the playoffs are. It's a different season. You get the first season to set the bar and put yourself in that spot to play a postseason, and then the real season start.
Should be fun. Nick Deslauriers, great conversation with you just now. Appreciate your time, and best of luck going forward. All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Like I said at the beginning, Nick Deslauriers showed up on the Zoom with all sorts of wounds on his face. I'll probably play a clip of that promoting the podcast on Twitter later at Randball, so you might want to go check that out. You'll get a full appreciation for the visual of Nick Deslauriers, but awesome guy. Really enjoyed talking to him. Just an interesting introspection on his role, on how excited he is to be on this team, how quickly he feels like he fit in. So one of those guys that you kind of root for, just because I get the sense that he has the right perspective and is in this game for all the right reasons. Wild, by the way, lost Thursday night 4-3 in overtime, still picked up a point. Good game against Pittsburgh. They were a little flat early on. They were kind of making uncharacteristic mistakes, but they did battle back from 3-1 down to get that game at least into overtime. Another Kirill Kaprizov goal. What can we say about him that hasn't already been said? I mean, the guy has been I mean, he was having a good year, but he's found another gear lately. He's just unbelievable, peaking at the right time. I mean, peaking is even the wrong word probably for someone of his caliber. He's just showing off his excellence in an even bigger fashion at the right time, and just impressive to watch. And you know, they're going to need every bit of that down the stretch and in the playoffs, but I feel like he's got that to give. Speaking of beyond impressive, like I said at the outset, we are at the women's Final Four all weekend. Paige Bueckers spoke to the media on Thursday, kind of about coming back home to play, what it's like now that she has the experience of actually playing in a Final Four with fans and things like that. You forget, some of these players haven't experienced that because, you know, the tournament was canceled 2 years ago. And, you know, this year, or last year, it was kind of bubbled up and they didn't really have a chance to interact with people. This year, much different. There's Fan Fest stuff going on. There's, you know, it's going to be a full Target Center on Friday and Sunday, I would imagine. So that piece of it is different. And she spoke about that with reporters on Thursday.
Yeah, it still hasn't really sunk in. It's really surreal to me. I've been in this locker room before. During a state tournament in high school. So it's all familiar. It's all crazy. It's also crazy just because last year we were in the bubble. We were in San Antonio the whole time. And it was basically testing, practice, and back to the hotel. So I think we're all just grateful that it's not that experience again. And we're excited to have fans. We're excited to be in different locations. And I'm obviously super grateful that it's at home. But it doesn't really matter the location, where it is. We're all excited to get to the Final Four and to keep playing.
4 great teams should be a lot of fun. It's not just the Paige Bueckers show, so we don't want to insinuate that. But all of these teams are great. South Carolina is the favorite to win this. UConn's been getting a lot of the publicity because of Paige Bueckers, but South Carolina looking to kind of cement its place in that way upper echelon of women's basketball, and it feels like winning this one would do that. Let's stay with women's basketball for a little bit here, and some interesting stuff coming out of the Gophers women's program. Sarah Scalia, Gophers' leading scorer, 17.9 points a game, made 41.3% of her three-pointers, entering the transfer portal, and that is a big blow to Lindsay Whalen's program. Lindsay Whalen talking about it on Thursday, saying, I met with Sarah on Wednesday. She told me her intentions of entering the transfer portal. I thanked her for her contributions to the women's basketball team and wished her well going forward. Sounds like, you know, Kent Youngblood, our very good women's basketball writer who covers the Lynx, covers the Gophers, will be one of our lead writers at the women's basketball Final Four this weekend. Got a hold of Sarah Scalia's father, Peter, and said the relationship between Sarah Scalia and Whalen was good, but, you know, with Scalia having 2 years of eligibility left, even though she's played 3, there's that extra year now because of the COVID year. She's kind of looking to win right now, and Whalen's teams have not won yet. There's a big recruiting class coming in, but no guarantees how good this team will be right away. Sarah Scalia's father, Peter, saying the clock is ticking. She's a pretty strong-minded kid, and she was like, I want to win. Interesting. So, you know, success, not, you know, individual success for Scalia, not breeding success for the team, a factor, it sounds like, as was maybe some of the work ethic of some of the other players on the team. You know, Kent was paraphrasing her father here, but he said, well known for her work ethic in the gym, she was looking for teammates with the same commitment. He said the freshman class is coming in with that work ethic, he said, but there are unknowns in year one and how quickly these kids will develop. So this sounds less like a disgruntled player and more like someone who's looking for a change of scenery and a chance to win where that might not be possible here because of, you know, the relative youth, the other players the Gophers have left. I mean, this is not their only transfer portal loss. I mean, they lost in the middle of the year. Jasmine Powell entered the transfer portal. Kadi Sissoko announced recently she's going into the transfer portal. I mean, a lot of their best players leaving, and that, you know, if you'd have added some of those players to the foundation they had coming in, these young players they have coming in, might have been a pretty good team next year. Now, Whalen's going to have to really hit the transfer portal herself, find some players of comparable stature, which is not easy. Like you saw, Ben Johnson was able to get some of that. Jamison Battle was probably the prime example, but A lot of the players the Gophers were able to bring in last year after losing so much to the transfer portal were just not the same, level of recruits that the ones they were losing, and it showed up in a last place finish in the Big Ten. So this is it's a big moment in Lindsay Whalen's Gophers women's basketball coaching journey. She really needs this recruiting class next year to be as good as advertised. Number 10 in the country, all of them from Minnesota. That's kind of been the dream all along. If this class is great, everything will be forgotten. If this class, not to put too much pressure on them, I hate to do that, but it just feels like that is kind of where they are going to have to put all of their focus right now after losing all of these players to the transfer portal. I mean, it's just it's a tough blow. It's a tough thing. You knew there were going to be growing pains with this program because Lindsay Whalen's never been a head coach at any level. She took over the job straight after playing for the Lynx. And, through 4 years now, they haven't made the NCAA tournament. They've struggled to really gain traction. They've lost some players. If this thing's going to get turned around, it really does feel like this recruiting class coming in is going to have to be the one to do it. And we will see if they're able to do that. But Sarah Scalia, we'll see where she ends up as well. A big loss for the Gophers women's basketball team. Let's finish with the cooler. I thought this was gone. I believe there was something written earlier this spring that said the automatic runner on second base in extra innings of baseball games was going to go away. Well, it is not. It was announced Thursday that extra run, that automatic runner on second base in every extra inning is going to be there. I don't like this rule. I don't. I've talked about it plenty. It's kind of a fake, artificial way to get games settled more quickly. Instead of addressing actual baseball issues to improve time of game and pace of play, they're just kind of cheating the margins of the game with rules like this. I mean, as far as how outraged I am, I'm probably less outraged than when it was initially proposed. I've seen how it works. It's okay in some regards, but I don't like rules that again are shortcuts that are designed to replace actual improvements in the game, and that's what I feel like this rule is. It's a way to not have to actually address the things that are wrong with baseball, and instead just take a shortcut. So that rule is back. Look for not quite a ghost runner; they put an actual runner out there, but look for that in games this year. If it goes into extra innings, you will see that runner just trot out to second base. It'll be just like somebody hit a double, even though they didn't really hit a double, and that bothers me. Not as much as maybe it did when it first started, but it still bothers me a little bit. That will do it for today. Don't let that bug you all weekend. I'm not going to let it bug me all weekend. Enjoy the women's basketball. Enjoy the men's basketball. Enjoy everything coming up your way. Lots of great sports. Wild and Wolves right in the middle of a playoff race. So much stuff coming up. Twins getting ready to start this season. Should be a lot of fun as we get into April. And listen for that bonus podcast this weekend as well from the women's basketball tournament, and back at it Monday with Patrick Royce. I'm Michael Rand. Thanks for listening to Daily Delivery. We'll see you on Monday.